So that was basically my experience with anxiety, right? And like how it presented itself to me, more like exploded on me. But, you know, in terms of how I'm obviously doing a lot better now. And how, you may ask? Well, therapy, like I was just talking about. I'm also on medication. I'm on a generic form of Lexapro. I just upped it a little bit because things have been stressful at work. But yeah, so there's a million things I can go into that started to help. But for starters, like I said, the first therapist I have, he was all right. When I first met my first therapist, something she asked me, well, obviously, like, the first session is always like a bitch and a half, because you have to like spill your guts and like basically try to recap your whole trauma in like a session. I mean, obviously you work on it, but you know, you try to give the therapist a feel for like what you're going through. But something she said at the end is, you know, because I had told her I'd seen another therapist, and she was like, well, what does did your old therapist, you know, do that you didn't like, or what would you like to see me do? And I was like, look at her. And something I said, I was like, I really like when you ask me questions, because my prior therapist, he would just let me rant and rant and rant, and sometimes I just go on these tangents, and I get from like point A to Q, and then try to retrace to C, and then somehow end up at Z, but then trace the way back to F, and then somehow try to make it sense to A. And anyway, so I like when I'm prompted with questions, to try to, you know, cut me off at those tangents. And she does to the day. She still asks me questions. She'll let me go off when I need to, but she'll still ask questions that like take me in a different direction, you know, help me refocus, help me rethink what's going on. Yeah, so that really helped. And also something I was like, I like having like quote unquote homework, you know. I mean, like I said, I used to strongly identify with school and stuff, and like I feel like I can get more out of it if I take it out of therapy with me, because with my old therapist I was able to go spill my guts and then leave, but kind of like not really take anything from it, you know. Like it was like I would unload all these emotions on him, but I didn't really like help myself afterwards. So we started little things. Sometimes when I went through my breakup, she had me read this little book actually that kind of helped at the time give me perspective on breakups and whatnot. You know, little things here and there, but we actually started an anxiety workbook when we realized that, you know, what I was definitely dealing with was anxiety, with, you know, some situational depression. You know, like I generally have anxiety all the time, but depression only comes in when things get really bad. And then the depression, anxiety, those of you who are mental health people out there know that they go hand in hand. So anyway, I had like this anxiety workbook that was wonderful. And she would have me do like a chapter of it, a section of it, a couple pages of it every time, you know. And we talk about it, you know. She'd ask me where my progress was, like what I learned. And, you know, that's where I discovered that, you know, my parents are the root of my anxiety. And, you know, that's tough probably maybe for them to hear, but it's just that I care so much about what they think that it actually hinders me instead of helps me, because I worry that every step I'm going to make is something they won't approve of. So sometimes, what it comes out to me is me making huge, bold steps that I know they don't approve of, which is what they see, but it's really a defense mechanism, because I know that if I don't, and if I cave even a little bit, I won't do what I want. So I make what seems to them probably is like bold, rash decisions without thinking, whereas no, I've been obsessing over the decision for weeks. I've consulted several friends, my therapist, everybody else who I could think of, you know, asking for their input, my sister, whatever, you know, and then I make the decision. You know, I weigh a lot of those things, but it's so interesting. Even if I have all those opinions, like let's say I want to do something and everybody's like, yeah, do that something. If my mom says, I don't know, Al, it doesn't seem like a good idea, like, are you sure you want to do that? I'm like, fuck, like, you know, I'm just so screwed. And I know she doesn't. I'm sorry. Now I'm just getting ahead of myself. Woo! You know, now's a time where I wish I had water. Okay, voice back. Voice, give me my voice. Somebody's at the door. Somebody's really tight. Yeah, so yeah, I just get really fucked. Like, if my parents question stuff that I do. Relax, I live in an apartment. And yeah, so like that really helped, that workbook. It helped me realize a lot of things and like understand a lot of things that are going on. And can you chill? She'll come back. And you know, come to terms and understand how to grapple with that more. Something else that really helped was affirmations. I should start doing them. I haven't done them in a while, but I have a sticky note on my mirror, and I have affirmations that are based on all of my insecurities. My affirmations, I know them by heart, are I'm nice, I'm smart, people like me, I do not suck, I'm a good friend, I'm a good daughter, I'm a good person, I do enough, I am enough. And I have it on my mirror, so I would say it to myself, and it was actually very therapeutic looking at the camera and seeing me and saying it to me just now. So I base all of my affirmations based on my biggest insecurities. Like, you know, one of them is I do not suck, because when I get, you know, manic and freak out and cry and everything, I'll be like, I suck, I suck, I suck, I suck, you know, or I'll feel like, you know, I'm a bad daughter, I'm a bad person, I'm a bad friend, nobody likes me, or this is why nobody likes me. So all of my affirmations are positive terms of my insecurities. Something that I still have that I need work with is I have a list of feelings words that she gave me, because I have a hard time identifying my feelings. Like I told, like throughout my whole journey with anxiety and depression and all of that, I would just have this feeling that I would call bad, and that was it. Bad. It was the swelling, because it was just a huge mix of all of these terrible feelings all in one, and I was just like, I feel bad. That is bad. But obviously, like, bad isn't an emotion, you know? It's not a feeling. It's an adjective, but it's not like, it's not something that's rooted in something. It's just bad, period. That doesn't really help us get anywhere. So yeah, I had this terrible, awful feeling. And it was just a swell, like a tornado of everything, just like weighing on my heart. Like my heart would feel heavy. And yeah, that was kind of what we were dealing with. So now I have a feelings list where I go through and I literally read them. And for me, I'm a big like auditory person, so I'll say stuff out loud. It'll be like guilty, angry, see, look how bad I am at feelings. Scared, frightened, worried, whatever. And I'll read those until when I say it, I can feel what it is. Like it'll resonate with me. It'll be like a little ping in my heart. So I'll be like guilty. And then when I say it, I'll like feel it extra, you know, in my heart. Like it has like some, I don't know how to describe it. Like it resonates really. And that definitely has helped. I definitely should look at it more, but things have been more positive than negative lately. Knock on wood. I'm a little superstitious. So, you know, I'm hoping to stay on that. But, you know, she even told me that my feelings list isn't just bad feelings. There's good feelings on there too, and it's important to be able to identify those. And that's something I'm really bad at. Like, I'm just like, yeah, I'm feeling good, all right, whatever. Like, I'm never like, I'm ecstatic, I'm excited, I am this, I am that. Like, oh my god, Mia just farted. I hate you. So, yeah, identifying good feelings is something that I've been working with as well. Oh my god, her fart smells so bad. Oh my god, ew. Ew, Mia, you little stinky dog. You little stinky dog, you little stinky dog. Anyway, so yeah, identifying those feelings, and that has helped. Even I've taken a lot of like mental health stuff, like you probably can't read them, but they're all over my wall, about depression, anxiety. Something that I think is important to note is that I had really high functioning anxiety And there's a framed picture on my wall that's showing the difference between like high functioning anxiety and regular anxiety. And high functioning anxiety, this is why my parents didn't understand, because I was so high functioning, but like I had perfectionist tendencies that made me feel awful. And like, so sometimes people who you think have it all together are like literally shitting their pants all the time, being like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And that was me, only I would just like have this, exterior that was like, it's all good. But then in my head I'd be like, oh my god. Something I still do to keep myself going is I shake my leg. It's not necessarily anxious, like sometimes I'll just do it. Sometimes it just keeps me like motivated, but it goes hand in hand with my anxiety sometimes, because if I'm trying to like push through, like the leg shaking like will keep me going. It's also like recognizing those tendencies and being able to understand them. My therapist told me to start writing down feelings. I told her I'm really bad at that, so she just said start writing in general. I said I'm also bad at that. So we go back and forth. She's so done with me. No, she's not. But I'm just such. I always told her I was always afraid to go to therapy because I felt like I'd be too much of a smartass, and like because I am, like I'm such an asshole. Like I'm just like, but that doesn't make sense, like blah blah blah. Or like I've debated with her so many times about stupid shit. Like she's like, Allie, I'm over you. The other day she was like, just eat your french fry, and I was like, okay. But yeah, so happy medium is that when I felt some sort of weird unidentifiable way, I would write, because that was something that even pre-therapy, graduating college, like I would try to write to figure it out. And sometimes it would help, and it has helped a little bit. I haven't, like I said, done it as recently because things have been better lately. It's okay, Mia, that was me. Nobody's at the door. Nobody's at this door. But yeah, so I definitely have learned a lot of tools from that, and also just to be kinder to myself, and stand up for myself even when it's hard, like whether it's against my parents or my siblings or my friends or whoever it may be, just like knowing my own boundaries and knowing my limits too, because it is okay to say like, I'm unable to do that. Like, yeah, we're all capable of anything, but not all the time, not in any mental space. Like sometimes we simply can't, and that is okay. And that is something that I'm still working with, but and that also goes hand in hand with boundaries. Like recently my therapist told me, like, Allie, you need better work-life boundaries, because I have the ability to check all of my work stuff from my laptop. And sometimes on the weekends I would go in and like answer emails and do work, and I stay late a lot, but she's like, Allie, like you've got to do better about getting those boundaries, like, or else you're just working and not living. And I'm like, okay, even though my coworkers have been telling me this, but I was like, guys, you don't get it. And then my therapist told me too, and I was like, okay. So yeah, I mean, a good therapist is definitely a big help with anxiety, and I recommend medication. Not everybody's into it, but things got a lot better for me when I did start taking medication, and that can be a whole other video in and of itself. But what I want to say is that I think that medication and therapy, if you're on meds, like it goes hand in hand with therapy, because before I was on medication and I was just doing the therapy, I was in such like an anxious state that I wasn't always able to do the, or use the tools that were being given to me and the things that I was understanding. Like I would have like epiphanies, but then wouldn't really put them into action because I was in this anxious state, or sometimes I'd be depressed. And those of you with depression, that sometimes like doing dishes is hard, sometimes showering is hard, sometimes making yourself brush your teeth is hard. That's something I saw recently online. I felt really validated. I mean, somebody was like, first time I brushed my teeth in a month, and I was like, wowza. But sometimes I'll go like a couple days without brushing my teeth, which is so bad, and I have shit teeth, so I really shouldn't like miss anything. But sometimes it just takes a lot out of me to like do the things. It just seems like a lot. I also read this wonderful thing recently I should say, about somebody and their therapist, and someone was super depressed, and they were like you know, the therapist was like pushing them and was like, what's going on? Tell me what's hard right now. And like the person was thinking like, I don't have anything profound to say, and was just like, honestly, doing the dishes. Like, I have a stack of dishes and our dishwasher is terrible, so I have to wash them by hand and it's just growing and I don't want to do it. And then the therapist was like, who cares? Run the dishwasher twice. And the person was like, what? And they were like, why does it matter? Like, wash, like, you know, don't do the dishes, put them in dirty, run it twice, run it 3 times, run it, you know, however many times you want. And then the person went on to explain that, like, the therapist started saying, you know, these rules are arbitrary. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, run it twice. Like, just do it if you need to. And the person was like, yeah. And then I was still depressed, but then I showered laying down, and laundry was causing me stress and anxiety. So I just put them away and didn't fold them, just threw them into random spots. And then said, you know, now obviously I do my dishes, I shower standing up, I fold my clothes and put them where they're supposed to go. But in times when you're really depressed and at a really low, it's okay to like not be perfect, and it's okay to do things, you know, out of the systematic order that we somehow have like claimed is the right way to do stuff. Like, you know, so it's really interesting. That tidbit was really nice. Sometimes I think social media is comforting. Like, there have been a lot of like, you know, debates on if social media is good for people, but I think it also connects because it like connects a lot of people together. Because if you're in a community or you're in a small town or something where there's a norm and you feel like you don't fit that norm, that's really damaging and can be really traumatic for you. So I feel like the online community, like even the friggin' TikTokers and, you know, Twitter and Instagram, the Insta stories, YouTube, it's really a way for people to be like, oh, I'm not abnormal. Like, a lot of other people deal with this. Like, I'm not like a weirdo, you know? Just because you aren't, you know, neurotypical doesn't mean that you're weird. Yeah, I could go on a whole thing about that. But anyway, I don't know how I got from meds to here, but I'm gonna go back to meds. I'll rewatch it and see if I can make this make sense. But yeah, my meds enabled me to use the tools I was given and see situations at a little bit of a distance, and be able to figure out how to manage them without being so personally invested that I, you know, hinge my self-worth on it or something silly like that. Because in reality, it's just a job, it's just a school, it's just, you know, an assignment, you know, it's just this, just that. Like, everything in life we do is arbitrary. Like, not to get all universal on you guys, but like, we're all here, but we're all gonna die one day. And like, you know, you don't have to do 5 million things to achieve greatness. You just need to, you know, enjoy the ride. You know, death is inevitable, and we're all going to, you know, experience the same thing one way or the other. So you may as well enjoy the time while you have here instead of making yourself miserable. And that's something that I have found comfort in. And even though I guess it kind of sounds depressing, like, hey, yeah, we're all gonna die, but like, it's true. So like, you may as well use the time you have not destroying yourself. If you live a life only to destroy yourself, then like, what are you doing? Something else that has also helped me quite a bit is, you know, exercising. Not for everybody. Right now I've been on, like, I haven't been exercising at all. I just ordered like a used elliptical because I don't want to go to the gyms because of COVID. And I was running outside for most of the pandemic when I was working from home, but we're back in the office and we have been for a few months now. I haven't been able to run, and I eat like shit, and I totally know that, but that's something that brings me joy. So I don't want to change my eating habits. So I want to work out again, because not just because like I want to be fit or whatever, but it makes me feel motivated, especially if I do it early in the day, get it done. Like, I feel productive. And as somebody who is like a recovering perfectionist / has anxiety, like, feeling productive like makes you want to do stuff, makes you want to like get it together, clean stuff up, whatever it may be. Like, I always say to my therapist, I'm like 0 to 100. Like, on the weekends, sometimes I feel like on one of the weekend days I'm 0, the other one I'm 100. Like I'll do everything, be super productive, and then one of the days I won't do anything. And it works for me because like that's what I need. But you really don't want to be 0 to 100. You want to try to be like in the middle, like able to go from one to the other. But my personality is like so anyway, exercising helps me feel like motivated and doing stuff and getting things done that maybe I was avoiding before, you know, due to anxiety or any other thing. Because, you know, with anxiety, you either want to get everything done, or you're so worried about getting stuff done you don't get anything done at all. And yes, neurotypical people, it doesn't make sense, and we know. Just because it doesn't make sense doesn't mean it's not happening. And that's something I want people to take away from this. Like, I know it was really hard for my whole family to understand the mental health aspect of it because it simply does not make sense. And that is why it's infuriating and confusing and traumatic, because mental health issues do not make sense. But if you have anxiety, if you have depression, if you have any sort of disorder that affects your mental health, then you can't see that all the time. And even if you can, you can't control that you have it. You know, you can only try to do things to help it. And, you know, it's a day-by-day process, and that's something that people who don't have mental health issues don't understand. It's like every day I have to make sure I took my meds. I have to make sure I'm checking in with myself. I have to make sure if I see my leg shaking, I have to stop and be like, oh, wait, are you shaking just because you're shaking? Or are you shaking because you're feeling like... Sorry guys, another technical issue, but I was saying, you know, checking in with yourself. Am I shaking my leg because I'm anxious or because I'm just shaking my leg, you know? If I don't, you know, make sure my apartment is at least somewhat clean before the night before, like, I just feel like the next day I'm gonna be a slob. Like, you know, it's just like daily things that I have to like check in with myself and try to fix. And mental work is sometimes the hardest work because you don't, like, eventually you'll see results, but it's like all about feeling. So like, you know, like if you're working out, it's like a physical goal, right? And like you see yourself getting, you know, more muscles or thinner or whatever you want, you know, or being able to run faster, whatever. Like that's like something tangible, you can see it. But like with mental health stuff, like, you know, you can't always see the fruits of your labor, especially as they're going on. Like at least when you're working out, you might not be skinny right away, but you know you sweat and you know your arms hurt and you're sore and you're tired. But, you know, mentally you're just tired. And, you know, when I say I'm tired, it doesn't always mean the same thing as when, you know, quote unquote normal people say they're tired. Like when neurotypical people say they're tired, they may not get a lot of sleep that night. When I say sometimes, and sometimes that's the case for me too, but sometimes when I say I'm tired, it's like because I've been doing this, like these mental exercises and gymnastics and whatever just to get myself through a day. And there's like a really stressful, like mental tired that you can feel, that I'm sure a lot of people with mental health issues have felt. So yeah, I mean, you know, it's a day-to-day process. I mean, right now, like, it's not an end-all be-all. Like, I was so depressed, I don't know if I would have imagined when I was alone feeling worthless in Ithaca and nobody was talking to me. I don't think I would imagine that, you know, in a few months from now I would have moved out of my family's house, had my own apartment, and had a job. You know, life is funny and it's chaotic, but nothing is impossible. You know, I was made to feel that if I didn't do grad school, I had nothing and that I wasn't going to be able to get a job. But like, I have a job, I've been promoted at that job, I have my own place, I sustain myself, and I'm paying for almost all of my bills. So nothing is truly impossible, and your worth does not depend on a job. Your worth does not depend on what school you go to, what profession you do, what job you have. That's a big thing that I learned as well, is that jobs don't define you. Whatever job you do have, it doesn't necessarily have to be your passion. Like, my job isn't my passion. That doesn't mean I'm not good at it, but it means that it's not my life. You know, and I don't wake up every day like super glad to do like insurance stuff. I'm like, yeah, insurance. No, but like, you know, that's what I do, and I wake up every day and I do it well, but it's not my life, and that's not where I get my joy from. I get my joy from my space, my little baby here, my other little squawkers over there, my friends, my family, you know. So your job doesn't have to be your joy. I'm not saying you should stay at a miserable job if you're miserable, but if you don't find a job that is your passion, that's not necessarily bad. I guess that's what I'm saying. It's easier, but it's not bad if you don't. Like, you don't have to find self-worth and esteem in your job. Like, you can just, you know, show up, do your thing, support yourself, and go home. And that's what I do, and that's where I'm at. So yeah, spend my little TED talk on mental health, anxiety, anxiety and depression, I should say. I also want to clarify that Lexapro is an antidepressant with anti-anxiety, so I'm technically on antidepressants, but it has an anti-anxiety like function to it. I don't know, like, ask my psychiatrist, but it's working. So yeah, I think I'm gonna do a whole episode about meds too, but hopefully somebody out there identifies with this, knows they're not alone. I don't know if a lot of people would have assumed that I went through stuff like this unless they knew me personally, because I just feel like maybe I had a facade that I had it more together than I actually do. But don't worry, I don't have it together. And neither should, no, I'm just kidding. We should all strive to like try to not be miserable, but if you don't have it all together, that's okay. And we're all just taking it one day at a time. We're all human beings, and it's okay to struggle, it's okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay to feel weak. That doesn't mean you as a person are weak. It doesn't mean that you are bad or wrong or I don't know, somehow less worthy than anybody else. It just means you're human, and you deal with stuff that not all humans have to, and that sucks, but I'm with you. A lot of other people are, and day by day, guys, that's always something that helps me. Staying in the present is something my therapist taught me, one day at a time. In my job, I make a lot of calls. I do one call at a time, you know, 1 hour at a time. Just, you know, keep moving forward. And if you're stuck, ask for help. Okay, I'm going to leave on that good note. I will see you guys next week with some food for thought, and we'll be cooking and doing some fun stuff. But I hope you enjoyed, and stay safe out there, stay healthy, help yourself if you need it, and yeah, yay, bye. Oh, also, like, comment, and subscribe, pretty please.